Generative AI was first unveiled to the public in 2022, sending shockwaves with its powerful text and image-based tools. And today, it has become an inseparable part of our everyday lives and a key driver for innovation worldwide. To walk us through how or where we stand in generative AI today and where it's headed, we are joined by Dr. Kang Sung-ju in the studio. Dr. Kang,
hi.
Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. And I'm your science communicator and astronomer, Kang Sung-ju.
Welcome to the show. And we're also joined by Mr. Lee Dong-jae, co-founder and chief product officer of Wrtn Technologies, the team behind Korea's national AI initiative. Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome, DJ.
Great to meet you all.
Yeah.
And it's a pleasure.
Dr. Kang, let me turn to you first. When we hear the term generative AI, not many people are familiar with what this term actually means. So could you walk us through what generative AI is?
Yeah, actually people very familiar with the AI, what it means, but generative AI is a type of AI that doesn't just analyze something, but also actually create the content like a source code or images, text, audio. Instead of the following set of the rules, they just learned from a lot of data, and then that mimic or create the contents, what it means like a content from the patterns, what the human-like patterns. So creates a content, something like made by humans. That's how we call generative AI.
Prime example that many of us are aware of would be ChatGPT,
Yeah,
right? That's an
ChatGPT,
example
right.
of generative AI. Anything you'd like to add? What is generative AI?
I would say one of the most important traits of generative AI is the fact that it's very statistical. So everything is probabilistic there. So you can't really predict what's coming out next. But there's a probability, a distribution of probability, where you sort of can predict probabilistically. For instance, it follows a statistical pattern out there of the words or the kind of the data that it learned. So for example, it's normal to say am after I. So I am, right? So a lot of the data it was trained on would have the word I and then am come after the I. So what we call here is that each word would be represented in mathematical pattern, right? Numbers, right? It's called tokens. And after I, then there's high likelihood of M coming out.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of the pattern that was there in the training data set. So we extrapolate that principle to everything, right? Images, text, and everything. So that's sort of how humans learn, right? They sort of see through the world, see a lot of patterns, and see some similarities, and then you sort of kind of get, after I probably should say am instead of is. But sometimes you would make mistake. And that leads to a lot of the hallucination problems and mistakes that AIs make nowadays.
Yeah, just as babies, they learn about the world,
right.
They learn new languages, they study patterns. But speaking of generative AI already being part of our everyday lives, Dr. Kang, how are you using generative AI in your day-to-day routine?
So actually, I use the generative AI a lot. Now, I mainly use when I write down the TV or the YouTube, because I'm running on the YouTube channel right now, science YouTube channel. And when I write the script, I just feed a lot of the structures or a storyboard or whatever I'm thinking. I just feed a lot of things, and then they'll just give us the draft. And after then, I just check the variability and validity. So I just get the draft and I put my human tones on there. And second one, as a science researcher, I use the generative AI as a research assistant. So I put the paper, and every day there's a lot of papers coming out from the science field. So I just pick a very interesting one and put it in the generative AI or science newses as well, and get what makes a difference between the previous result and try to figure it out and what's the change and what's the significance from it. That's how I use it as a research assistant or as a daily life tools.
Yeah.
Email draft
yeah.
or reminders, private assistants, something like that. So that's how I use basically for every day.
It has significantly changed my day-to-day life too. Like, for example, review a script. It used to take me 4 to 6 hours of editing, doing research, looking at YouTube. But now that process cut by a quarter.
Right.
Almost like I can do it in an hour. And also day to day, like sometimes I have a picture of a dress and I just ask, where can I find the dress? Or like I forgot where I bought it or the brand, like it looks at, and then it gives me links of all these places that sell this dress. So yeah, it has really, like I cannot imagine my life before generative AI and after.
Right.
Like my reliance has gotten so big. What about you? Do you? I mean,
Actually,
I bet you live and breathe generative AI.
I think our company has changed a lot since we started having an internal agent team. So what internal agent team would do is build agents for ourselves. So when we say agents, it's normally we don't mean just like AI that answers to my questions. It's AIs that are capable of using tools. So for instance, if you come to our office and if I were to give you parking hours, we would tag a retriever, which is like an agent we have in our Slack bot, and ask it to provide parking hours. Then it'll just do that automatically by using the computer tools. If we need a data analysis, before we go to a product analyst, we can actually just tag the bot and ask, what's the recent MAU, what's the recent revenue, stuff like that. Or we also do have a coding agent that we built ourselves.
Yeah, that was a game changer for me because I am totally oblivious to coding, but I asked generative AI, like build me a website, include these things. It was a very ambiguous command, but it built a preview of a website. And I think, oh my gosh, it's like a magician.
That's exactly what I did yesterday.
You did?
Like, that's what we call the vibe coding, right? So just to do whatever you want and then just to type in and then the generative AI understand what you want.
Yeah.
And then it will just to write down all the computer codes.
Right. It really removed the barriers of entry for people who are not skilled in that sector. Well, DJ, you talked about building a world of everyday AI. What does that world look like in practice?
Part of the thing that we do is we focus on two things, right? One is like the business and the industry world, where the work is done. That side of things, we try to approach it from B2B angle. We don't really try to fight in consumer or prosumer market in the productivity domain. We don't try to augment individual productivity as much as just automate companies' workflows. Because if AI is that good, why do you need to boost individual productivity that much, right? When AI can do the work from the beginning till the end. So we try to work with companies directly, so B2B domain. We call it AX in Korea, AI transformation. We basically automate workflows. We started to have big enterprise clients recently. So we're working on that domain on one hand. On the consumer domain, our everyday AI looks more like non-productivity use cases. So we do provide a bunch of things like searches, but we also do provide very content-y stuff, like English learning, like fortune telling, like memes, and also AI-based story consumption called character chat, what people call. We have all sorts of those use cases that are outside of productivity domains for individuals.
So AI can be your friend, your study buddy,
Or your assistant.
assistant. Wow, the possibilities are endless. Which part of generative AI do you think Korea holds a real advantage?
I would say the only layer that makes sense for Korea to do really well is application / content layer. That's partly because we have a very big consumer market. When I say we have a very big consumer market, I mean the lowest bottom of our country is still better off than a lot of other countries' average. We do have a very good welfare. They have a pretty much an average spending power that Koreans have is pretty high. So we tend to spend a lot on things like content, daily usage. So we see a potential that companies here are really good at building those kind of day-to-day applications. For instance, we have the biggest gaming industry, we have the biggest K-contents industry, we have a pretty big music industry. I think AI has a lot of room to do there. But on the flip side of things, more like a productivity domains or B2B SaaS domain, I don't think there is much for Korean companies to shine. Or infrastructure layer as well, because it's just a matter of scale. If you just look at the size of the land, we have a few acres of lands where we can use for data centers. So that's just a physical reality that we have. Yeah.
I know it's hard to tell the future, but which generative AI technology do you think would be the most significant game changer?
Gamechanger would have impact in how we do a lot of things. And I would say physical AI has a lot to do with changing how we do things. It may take over a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
It may change the way warfares look like, how global powers are aligned. And in that sense, maybe the research that's going on in the world model front would have the biggest impact in the long run. But in the short run, I would say agent technologies. So foundation models are becoming better every day, but now we're seeing, in order to really put that into real life applications, you need ways to connect that to real life tools, real life APIs, and database, memory systems. And once you combine them all together, it's so much more useful than a single LLM, basically. So what we are really working on, what we are focusing on is trying to get those elements in place and figure out which system works the best to provide value to specific workflows, maybe for a specific finance company, maybe for a textile manufacturing company. Regardless of whether it be, we're trying to nail that workflow that works for each use cases. Yeah.
Right. On a different note, the expansion of AI has brought in new risks, like the threat of misinformation or AI hallucinations. Are there any safeguards in place to prevent the spread of misinformation?
I don't know if there is a solution to that. Because I don't think we successfully solved the problem of misinformation in the age of social media. Partly because the quantity of information itself increases so much. And let's say it's 20% is false, that's fine. But once there's like billions and billions of small snippets of information all around the place, it's really hard to distinguish between what's real and not.
Right. So Dr. Kang, as everyday users of generative AI, what can we do? Or like how should we educate our younger people?
That's why the students have to study a lot. I want to say that the generative AI is very smart intern, but the smart intern is very new. That new smart intern try to do something even though it is wrong. They try to do something and try to make like very good files or very good documents or something like that to show their abilities, right? It's very similar in case of the generative AI. They don't know how to say no.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know how to say I don't know. Even show something even though it is not true. So you have to, in the students or in the education, they have to educate the AI literacy these days. Recently, at the several top universities in Korea, use the AI during the exams, so it brings a lot of scandals. You probably know about that, cheating scandals. So in a time when we already actively use AI for everyday life, even their homework or assignment or something like that, how should we think about the situation, how we can deal with that kind of the issues in this AI era?
I think the only way to deal with it is by embracing it. Firstly, it's practically almost impossible to detect AI-generated writing.
Right.
It's very statistically average writing, if you think about it. It's very statistically average. I talked about how this is a statistics machine. So it's using a lot of data, writing that exists in the real world, and using it as a sample to create the next word, right? So it becomes really, really hard to distinguish whether it's AI generated or not. But even if you can do with 100% accuracy, I think it's too late, right? I think we talked about how we are doing really well on the consumer side of things as a country. The only way forward in this competition, in this global race, is by embracing it. So by locking them into a system where AI is not allowed is like locking people in outside of the internet, right? Internet has a lot of false information. Internet stops you from thinking, stops you from reading.
Right.
So maybe the professor from the old days could have said, don't use internet when you do your research, right? You
Go
should
to the library.
Go to the library. But I think if you're trying to ban AI on that front, it's pretty much like doing that. So the only way forward is embracing it. Therefore, I think we should probably redesign curriculums so that people can learn and practice with AI as a default tool next to them, like calculators.
Austin. We each got a budget of
네가 세상을 몰라서 너무 모르고
정말 많은 적게는 90번 많게는
AICC solution stands for the AI Contact Center solution, and this solution automatically responds to customers' inquiries by itself.
I'd be glad to help with that. Could you tell me more about the exact situation or environment where the issue is occurring?
I'm not pretty sure, but it is not powered on. How can I figure out the issue?
Thank you for the context. I am currently verifying the details for you. Please check if the power cord is firmly plugged in and the outlet is working, as a loose connection can cause no power.
A lot of companies in Korea, including the commerce area, finance area, a lot of industries in Korea, customer service field or have to deal with a lot of variety of customer solutions daily, weekly, and 24/7. Mental stress to deal with the customer support is very stressful. So a lot of companies and government institutions are inquiring us to how to lower the stress level of the customer support CS workers, and that's why the Wrtn develops the AICC solution. Our next step might be we don't know what different types of services will be developed in the future, but we will still aim to develop the solutions and services that can penetrate into the every people's daily lives.
Out of all the features and services that Wrtn provides, what are the most popular features that users use?
Well, I would say obviously the search and the kind of the day-to-day conversation kind of things work, but we're starting to see some interesting pattern where people are just exclusively using our services for content-related purposes. So character chat, Crack, the kind of the entertainment use cases are very, very popular. I think we are the biggest top-grossing character chat app in the world right now, but at least from the information that we gathered, it's not like verified, but also we're seeing the scenarios where we started to see more usage on memes, kind of the English learning use cases.
Right.
And we're seeing use cases that are outside of the typical productivity that's starting to grow more. So I think the initial boom started with productivity, but then we're seeing now more into fun, learning, content, entertainment, kind of a use cases growing.
But I am very curious about that. Like on the user's point, the most attractive part of the Wrtn is it is free, right? So in such competitive industry, I'm really curious about how you can keep offering the service for free and still run a sustainable business model.
I think there is two sides of things. There are free side of the product, but there is also products where people pay, right? Like Crack or like the B2B services. So it's about keeping the balance. We can lose money on the free side of things as long as we make enough margins on things where we make money. Right? So I think it's about creating that right balance of portfolio of products where there's a cost center versus where there's key revenue sources, and you sort of try to balance them out. And I think that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Final question. As Wrtn moves towards becoming an everyday AI super app, what kind of future do you envision for users to have?
As we move forward, I think we will focus more on the content-y stuff. So the area that's, content-y, soft, learning, fun, entertainment, we would focus a lot more on those use cases. And I think on a lot of the productivity domains, I don't know if people would need that, right? In long run. Because if AIs do the work from the beginning till the end, maybe we don't need a whole lot of productivity tools for regular people. So I think the content side, entertainment side of things would become way bigger than we think it will be. So we would focus a lot on those, and we would focus on the B2B side of things where the work, the production and will take place instead of building like tools that sort of exist in the middle, which are a lot of the productivity tools. We would just directly transform how companies work instead.
Wow, that's really fascinating. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's all for today. Join us again next time as I return with Dr. Kong to sit down with another leader shaping Korea's AI future. Thanks for watching.